Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 30, believe it or not, of the Synthwave Hangout. My name is Memory Design, and normally this is where I would introduce my co-host, Woren, but he unfortunately is not available, at least for the first half of the show. He's hoping he can hop on during the second hour. So, the chat is, seems like we're focused on how tall everyone is and some other stuff that Craig has been asking, so you never know what to expect. But we have a fantastic guest on today that I'm very, very happy to have here. Adam, otherwise known as Kosmonic. Are you there?
Hey. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's a real pleasure to have you on. It's so funny, too. I was just thinking about how we met, and it was, you followed me, right? Was that? Or did I follow you first?
I believe I followed you first.
Okay. Yeah, it was one of the other ones, but it's always funny because you get followed by random people, and then you click on them sometimes. And I remember I clicked on your stuff, and I think you were advertising... It was recent, so it would have to be that you were advertising waiting, I think, right? And then I
believe so.
I first heard that, and I was like, oh my god, I have to figure out who this person is. And I think I hit you up like right after, like, can I play your stuff, please, on the show? It was just one of those things where, like, I heard your stuff, and I was like, I have to share this with other people because it's so good. So, and now you're here, so I'm very happy to have you here.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I greatly appreciate you just taking the time to even listen to another artist, because there's a million out there, and yeah,
for sure, it's
hard.
Right. I never want to be one of those people that like gets followers and is just like, thank you for following me, I will never look at you or do anything. I check out everybody who follows me. And if, you follow me and I don't reach out, that doesn't mean I don't like your stuff or whatever. It's just every so often and there's like a free moment or something. And you're like, oh, let me just explore this person's music. And that's what's happened with you and a few other people that are in these chats sometimes as well. And you just never know who you're going to meet. And that's part of the fun of the community for me. Anyways, you're always discovering new stuff. But either way, one thing that I like to ask when people come on is, for people that don't know your music or the Kosmonic project, what would you say it is? How could you explain what you do and what kind of music you make?
Yeah, it's a great question. Kosmonic is essentially a retrowave project because it sort of taps into multiple different genres of synthwave, sort of R&B, The Weeknd, Daft Punk, anything 80s revisited. But the sort of thing that I like to tap into with Kosmonic is with the name is it's really more about the sort of supernatural or the unseen,
right,
or paranormal kind of aspect of the genre. And I think it's sort of like a introspective sort of musical journey.
Okay.
That that's kind of where it stems from. Is I've had multiple kind of experiences throughout my life, like that were kind of they weren't crazy, but they were enough to be like, there's something else going on here.
Right. Not readily explainable.
Right, readily explainable, and then you start, telling your story, and other people kind of have a similar story,
right?
And then you kind of go, wait, why isn't more people talking about it? And so that's kind of why I started Kosmonic. Actually, was to kind of create more of a conversation around those topics.
Oh, that's interesting. I was going to ask you kind of, hey, I know the theming of, your artwork and your Bandcamp page and all the stuff I've seen, but you never know if this is like a predetermined thing where somebody is like, okay, so I've developed this kind of persona or character, right? Or, I'm really into this kind of stuff, or it's a personal experience or whatnot. You never really know. So that was going to be one of my questions. So I'm glad you hit that.
Yeah, and I did choose the font, for a specific reason. It is very Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And I think Stranger Things is actually based on a real story in Montauk, New York.
Oh,
And
interesting.
There's a documentary about it, and I believe it came out in 2014, and the Duffer Brothers actually took sort of the theme of that documentary and made the Stranger Things.
See, I never knew that. I gotta look into that. Fascinating.
I believe that's where they got the whole concept, and so Kosmonic is sort of like stemming from that universe, but expanding upon it. So like it's just like the tip of the iceberg in terms of like the Stranger Things world.
Yeah. I wondered if it was somewhat influenced by, I mean, the font, going back to the font, because the font is, for me, who's a big Stranger Things fan, like many people in the world are, like the font seemed very, what's the word I'm trying to say? Like when I first saw the font, it was very appealing to me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There was something about that logo that grabbed me right away, and I was like, why is that? I was going to ask you about that, actually. So you're hitting all these questions right away. We're like right in sync here, right away. But yeah, no, that's fascinating. That is really interesting to know.
Yeah. So it's been a fun journey with the project. It's been more meaningful than all my music projects in the past. Again, I think after kind of some interesting supernatural experiences, I felt that I was able to kind of write more fluidly, like lyrically, things kind of flowed better when I kind of trusted in this kind of unseen world.
Sure.
Whether you call it the divine or you call it the supernatural, I think it's all the same thing.
Right.
But it's really kind of just acknowledging it, that it's real. And as soon as I started doing that, I was able to kind of, as an artist, kind of be more a conduit sort of to being able to write better, like write more frequently, more fluidly, and just be able to write more and without constraint.
Yeah. So it's been like kind of the muse for you, right? Is what you're saying. And that's always good. I think a lot of times in this community, well, there's all sorts of different kinds of artists, right? But there are sometimes people that try to write something where it's like, I want to try to make this sound like something else, or this has to sound like it's from the 80s specifically, or that any time in that era. And that works sometimes. Some people pull it off. Other times it seems kind of phoned in, I would say, with some people. But you can always tell when somebody has like a more of a true inspiration, or they're writing more from the heart, or they have some sort of deeper feeling behind a song versus trying to create something that is just trying to emulate something else, I guess. But I know you said that your stuff is similar to The Weeknd and some other stuff, and I totally agree with that. But that is interesting to know that it is coming from more of a deeper place, I guess. And you can tell, I think, with the music, the lyrics, the production quality, and all sorts of stuff is very high. And
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's very well done.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think it's not all. It's not all of that. Obviously, Waiting isn't really lyrically what I just described as Kosmonic. The origin of it. That song is more of just kind of what felt right.
Okay.
And that one was written really quickly, and was. It was just done really fast.
I love to hear that was done very quickly, because it sounds really good. You're like, I just kind of threw that together. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool, actually.
If for me, I write the music first, and if I can just see it and I see the story, really, the more clear it is, the faster I can, write it. And that one was just really, it was almost. In my mind, I think sometimes I don't know what I'm gonna write, and that's obvious, but you just don't know what you're gonna write, and I'm like, am I gonna write a chorus with love in it?
Right.
The most overused word in songs.
But it's so good. It fits so well. So,
and I think the falsetto kind of saved. I think if it's melodically there, then it's okay.
Yeah.
But if it's not melodically there, then the word love just kind of becomes redundant and meaningless.
Sure. Yeah, no, and people will hear later, in this block, you do have a really good falsetto, I think. And obviously we can talk a little bit more about this later, but with your, you have to be like a trained singer in some sort of way, right? Like, I know this isn't your first thing. You didn't just wake up and be like, oh, I'm going to start this Kosmonic project and, oh my God, I can sing, like that kind of thing.
No, I've been doing this since I was like 12.
Yeah. Are there any projects before this that you have out that I'm unaware of?
Yeah, but it's not in this spectrum whatsoever. It was an alt rock band. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which was it was a lot of work. I learned a lot from that, and it makes this project much easier.
I found that a lot of people that I talk to that are singers, of course, have done stuff other than this, right? Of course, and a lot come from that background as well. Kind of like I was in like the full kind of rock band type of deal, and it was just overcomplicated and much more effort to put in than kind of doing a production type style of music creation where it's mostly electronic, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you just I think as a young adult, you just try and do the best you can, and you just like do too much.
Yeah.
Because you don't know better, or you don't have a mentor. And I didn't really have one, so I just kind of went for like full orchestra, like 30 Seconds to Mars type production.
I could hear you doing that very successfully, by the way.
It was challenging, and it took years to do. And we did a really cool Bittersweet Symphony cover that did okay.
Yeah.
And that one's, I'm proud of that. And but it took way too long, and I learned a lot from it. I still use those mixing techniques on this project.
Yeah.
And but no, you just kind of learn that the expression less is more.
Right.
Especially after finally Max Martin came out with some interviews and was like, he said, I just use as less instruments as possible. Yeah,
that's my problem. I like to do too much, and I have that urge, right, where there's like some open space, and I'm like, okay, what could I put here so it's just total madness the whole time? And then it's like, oh my God, not only is this a nightmare to mix, but it's just like there's no dynamics. It's just all over the place because it's just a constant barrage of sound. So, and then I hear some of these people in the community that I really respect, and a lot of the stuff is very simple. If you really break down their songs, there aren't 6 layered pads and everything and all sorts of nonsense like that. So it really just depends. But yeah, I have heard that from many, many artists that, less is more all the time, especially in this genre.
Yeah, I literally just try and start with bass, pad, drums, and I try to just start with that and nothing else. Maybe just like an ambient background thing, and that's kind of how I start my songs. Because like especially when you add more instruments, like I think when you like master it and everything, it's like harder to get it as loud as you want.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare to make them all blend together, and then you're so used to that sound, or I am anyways. I love that sound when I'm working, right? And then I go to like mix it, and it's just like, everything's got reverb too, and even if you like, you put them all together and you put it into like a reverb bus, and it's just this mud factory. It's just, for me anyways, that's one of my biggest challenges is like cleaning up mud, because I love that kind of thick reverb sound, which is very hard to do correctly. And there's some people that have that down very, very well in this community. So I'm always kind of paying attention, trying to learn more of that kind of thing, and that, dealing with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that definitely affects the mix.
You're like, yes, just a little bit. But I got it. There's a question that was in here way early about, I'm scrolling back up in the chat. Where was it? About you working with, I think it was AU5.
Yeah.
But let's save that for when we come back. if that's
Sounds
okay.
good.
Because because I'm curious to hear about that also. So yeah, if you got nothing else, then we'll move on to this next block, and then I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Sounds good.
All right, so this next one up is the new one by Drumwave and the Bad Dreamers called Stars.
That got away in the moment, and now you're drifting in the clouds, so far away from that woman. And I can't pretend I know, but it's like when I pray, this is my sweet surrender. I'd never let you go if I had my way. This is my sweet surrender. Whatever's meant to be will find its way. The constellations sing all praises to the sky. Under the moonlight ring, the faces denied. This is my sweet surrender. I'd never let you go if I had my way. The breach of space and time, our safety on the line, and they don't understand that it's written in the stars. Space and time, our safety's on the line, and they don't understand that it's written in the stars. It was written in the stars. Oh.
And we're back. That last song was by Skylane Drive, and he has an album out right now for pre-order that is also going to have a vinyl connected to it, which I'm very excited about. So definitely check that out if you are a Skylane Drive fan. So we are back with Kosmonic here, and so the question was before it was it. Sorry, the chat is going to have to answer if this was Rising Field that asked this. I think about your collaboration with AU5, and is that your most popular track on Spotify?
Yeah, it's
okay.
a remix.
Okay, that's what it was.
He did.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
So he was wondering what the story was. That if it was him, I believe the comment was that it's very important for him to know, or something like that. So, is there a story with that, or were you just approached with it?
Oh yeah, there's lots of stories with it actually.
Excellent. You're just like, nah.
Yeah.
You just gave it to me. Like, it means nothing,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no. There's lots to say about that. I think, where should I start? Basically a coworker of mine who used to date him, shared my music with him, and AU5 is a amazing music producer, musician, in the Denver area, big in the EDM dubstep world, and he definitely had he really dug the album, which I had on SoundCloud before it came out, and he like shared TR3B, and it wasn't like really out yet.
Okay. That's always fun,
I
right?
I was like, what's wait, what's happening? And like I started getting all these likes and everything,
right.
And it was really cool, and I was just like, who's this guy just randomly? I didn't even know that was her partner at the time, and yeah, we just started talking, and it's funny that we're talking. I said in the chat that I'm just getting over a cold, but he basically heard my song Journey when he had the flu.
Oh, okay.
And well, he had listened to the album and everything, but he said to me that when he was listening to my album, the song Journey really helped him sort of heal.
Oh,
it
wow.
was the only song he could listen to while he was sick.
What a compliment.
No, totally. Especially from someone, I mean, this guy, he's like a, he's like a wizard / like incredible engineer.
That's a good combo.
Granular, like he's like, he goes in like a microscope on music, you know, and he just has sort of a multi-dimensional, out of body kind of, I don't know, it's hard to describe.
No, I know some people who I think of in a similar way, and I'm so jealous. That is totally not me. I'm not sitting here having an out-of-body experience mixing, and I know every angle, and like I'm seeing in 5 dimensions while I'm doing all this. But there are people that I swear are doing that, and the stuff they make, like, I'm not even talking about production, just sound mixing and everything is next level.
Like, you know how I said I was like, I got 4 tracks, and I opened his project up. He opens his project up, and it's like a science experiment. I don't know how to describe it. You just kind of have to be there, and he's got like a vibrating chair, like a sub-pack chair.
Oh, wow.
Which I wish I had, because it's way better than a subwoofer.
Yeah.
I realized, where he explained to me. So anyways, I'm getting off tangent here, but he said that the song Journey was the only song that he could listen to while he was sick, and that was a huge compliment, because, you know, this guy listens to a lot of music. He's got over 200 tracks. He's been signed to multiple independent record labels in the EDM world, and it wasn't, basically, when I wrote my first album, I tuned all of the songs to basically 432 A standard.
Okay.
So instead of the 440, tuning, I decided I want to do 432.
Okay.
So there was a lot of, intention or programming, whatever you want to call it, into the songs to be sort of a healing,
Right.
intentional, album.
And you got all sorts of stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I'm taking some notes here, right? You're operating on a different plane than I am, which is so interesting to hear about. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, no. It's the whole other topic on its own. But I find it, I think that's like one of my goals too, is to make music that transforms and is something that does something positive instead of something negative. So, that's my goal with music. And I think that's the original purpose in my mind of what music is.
Right.
It's been used for ritual practices, from the beginning of time, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Bringing us together, bringing tribes together, if you go back thousands of years, right? So that was just really, I was taken back and really happy to hear that my music had already done something positive for somebody. And that's like, the best thing you could ask for.
Absolutely.
Honestly, is when you make music that, helps somebody. And I learned that at a early age when I was 17, and I wrote a song called Save Me, and it's just about a whole other thing. But, I think as a musician, when you start to learn that kind of thing, that can happen, that music can.
Well, and it's happened to you and to me. To me and to you, I'm sure, through other music. Like, there is music that has that, it activates chemicals in your brain in a way that makes you feel better than you were before. When you're sick, it makes you feel more uplifted. I mean, there's tons of experiences I've had in my life like that, where it's almost like a numbing effect. If you've made that emotional connection to the song, especially. And so the fact that he was experiencing that with something you wrote, I mean, if that was me, I would be like, oh my God. I mean, what an amazing, thing to have somebody tell you.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's like, I think, it's like beyond you. It's like beyond a lot of things. And you just kind of, I think it goes back to, what I tried Kosmonic to be about.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of an introspective kind of music to make you think more deeply about what you're listening to and what you're thinking, because our thoughts are more powerful than we think.
I think it was during the interview with Outrunner where he was giving Dominic a hard time because Dom always talks about how he writes tons of music and never releases, and he's got like hundreds of songs and everything. And he was like, when you release it, it in a sense is no longer yours. I mean, it is yours, but it's now out in the world for the audience to listen to, and they make a connection with it and take ownership of it in a way. And I always thought that was very profound.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's there for the world to take what they feel about it.
Right. And so for AU5, he took it and it brought him through this really hard time. And then so then he came to you and it's like, I want to do a remix of this because it helped me so much. Was that the?
Yeah. Essentially, he was. I think he actually wanted to remix another song called Alpha Omega, which is the last song on my album, and I don't think he was feeling it. And then he was thinking about Journey again, and I think it was just still tickling him, so to speak. And he asked for those stems, and I sent it over, and he just knocked it out in like 3 days.
Wow.
He's that kind of guy, and he worked on it nonstop. And I was like, man, I wish I could
do that,
like,
right?
I wish I didn't have a full-time job and do that. Yeah, so I was just super impressed with what he did. I just gave like a few notes. He was super open to my critiques.
Yeah.
Which were very minor. and was blown away. And I think he did a very honorable and amazing, incredible remix of that song. I mean, he literally took it to another dimension.
Yeah, remixes can do that sometimes. I mean, sometimes they make the song better. Other times, you know, in my lifetime of hearing remixes and stuff, it's been like, you know, who was this written for? That kind of a thing. Like, it doesn't add anything to a track. But when a remix is really good, it's so awesome if you're already a fan of the song, because you get to then experience it again like a brand new track, even though you already love the original.
Yeah, totally.
But so the next block we have up is actually the first of 2 of your blocks. And so I was wanting to know, I was asked, do you want to talk about any of the songs before, or do you prefer to talk about stuff after?
It doesn't matter to me. Whatever you prefer.
Okay, let's just real quick then. Let's the 3 that we're going to be playing coming up are Waiting, Microdose, and TR3B. So is there anything about these 3 tracks that people are about to hear that you think they might find interesting or you'd like to share?
Oh man. Well, I guess Waiting. I could probably talk about that.
And we can talk. We can pick up after too. You know, you don't have to go to the whole thing. But I was just curious if there's anything that would, you know, when people are listening to it, any story or anything connected with it that they might find interesting.
Well, Waiting. I could go into Waiting just a little bit if you want me to.
Sure.
Waiting is an interesting one. Because it's not from any personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually in a relationship already at the time, which is funny. No, it like Waiting is an interesting one because it's been a while, but it's just sort of like a story. It's just like writing a story, and with that track. You know, I wrote it instrumentally first, and I just could see sort of like a, you know, Billy Idol, White Wedding, vibe.
Did you get into that thing
on.
where you're writing it and then you're already hearing like the vocal line in your head, you know, and you're like almost singing it while you're writing it? Do you do that kind of stuff?
I'm not quite like that.
Okay.
But basically, I have to kind of just start like singing random words that don't make any sense first.
Sure, just kind of riffing and putting it together.
Just riffing, just riffing and just like ad-libbing stuff, and I just kind of got into that rhythm, and it almost sounded like the Police in some way. Yeah. Especially in the bridge. So there's definitely like those 80s elements with it. But it was just like I had no really personal experience with that song lyrically. It's just like what I felt the song was saying, and that's what I always try and embody.
I think it did, like, whatever you've done did well, because it hooked me in right away when I first heard it. You know, it's very catchy. I mean, it's very poppy in some ways, but it definitely has that 80s vibe that caught my ear anyways. I'm hoping that, you know, for anybody in the chat that isn't familiar already with this song, I'm curious if they feel the same way from it. We talked about we talked about the remix, but does Microdose have anything interesting before we go on?
That one's that one's a lot older. That one I think I wrote in 2019.
Oh wow, okay.
And I think I was just sort of writing that one about an ex at the time. Mm-hmm. I wrote multiple songs for her. But this one was kind of more of like, you got
to write a song for an ex that blows up, and then you have to hear it and perform it for the rest of your life, constantly being reminded, right?
Yeah, but I just, I don't feel that or see it that way. I think it's like, I really like the song, I like the lyrics with
Yeah.
it, and it is based on sort of like the same. It's like, you know, about a high that you get, you know, from being in love with
Yeah.
somebody, but it's on a more deeper, like spiritual level, like meaningful level, because the big experience I had with mushrooms was that for me.
Okay.
Like when you go out in nature and you take like a good, not too much, but you take a good amount. My experience with it and other people I've talked to have had pretty beautiful experiences with it that are pretty peaceful and loving.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, actually.
And it does reset the default mode network in your brain, so you kind of let go of all your anxieties. It creates a really nice pad between all the things you're anxious about or like thinking about, and it just like dissolves. So like anything you had concerns about, it's like, oh, I don't really think
Why did I care about this? Right?
It's like why? Yeah, why am I taking it so? It's like it's a great reset. And it's not. I don't advocate it for every person because everyone's brain is different.
Right.
But it was just kind of like her and I were just, you know, we both like mushrooms too, and I think a lot of people do as well, especially in Denver, in Colorado.
Yeah, right.
It hits you harder too with altitude.
Oh, interesting. Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Never thought about that.
But that's kind of like where that song stems from. It's just kind of like, it's not just like I'm just like feeling lust for you. I'm feeling like deep with you is kind of like the song. But it definitely has that like with that bass on the chorus.
Yeah.
Was really hard to mix, but was just like embodying that kind of like R&B 80s retro wave sound, which I really like.
I do appreciate that there are interesting stories behind all of these, because it could have been like drugs, I don't know, microdose drugs, next song, like I was talking about before. But let's get into this block before we go on too long, because we're already at the top of the hour, and then we'll get back right after. So this first one up, everyone, is the one we were talking about before this, called Waiting.
I see her on the dance floor. She
just wanna get more close, and I get withdrawals when you're leaving. Cause I just wanna get your microdose, microdose.
And we're back. You really make, at least in these recordings, they really make the vocals sound like it was very easy to do, to me anyways. It sounds very like smooth and very well done. So I don't know how easy it is for you, but in all these tracks that you have, everything is just so smooth. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of takes.
Right.
A lot.
You're like, it's excessively painful, right, to do.
It depends on the song, but no, totally. It can be very, a lot of work on different songs. Some songs are easier than others. It just depends on the difficulty of the track. But
yeah, that,
like, again, waiting wasn't one that I don't think I took that many takes. And fun. Waiting Again was like on the chorus, like I could only record it once.
Okay.
I tried to record it again and it wouldn't sound as good as the first time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the hitting those, I mean, sometimes that's it. Sometimes it's like a one take and you keep redoing it and you're like, this is the best one, the first one that I did.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a singer, but in working with other bands I've recorded with, recorded for, that is often how it happens, because you have that energy right away, and then you're like, oh, this word sounds a little weird, and you start maybe thinking you should redo it, and then you're like, nope, this is it. We're going. This was the correct choice right away.
No, trust me. I spent a very, very long time mixing all these songs.
Yeah.
And especially Waiting and Microdose. Those were mixed. I believe majority of the mixing was done in December 2024.
Okay.
And I still was like tweaking it like up until the final.
Do you get to a point where you're like, this is perfect, or do you get to a point where you're like, this is as good as it's going to get?
If I have doubts, I'll share it with somebody.
Okay.
That's an audio engineer. And they'll like, it was funny, I showed it to somebody and he was like, yeah, I think the high end's a little too much. And then I took the high end out on the master and he's like, no, I like the first one.
Right.
I'm like, all right, well,
Right. It's like, you're brilliant. 1,000 apologies. Sorry.
I just like need some, you still like feel like you need some other person to tell you that it's done.
I love that. There's people I share with too about stuff, and you got to have people that will be honest with you. Like Dom and I always joke on this show with the like 3 fire emoji reply to anything you send. Like this. This sounds great, and you're like, you could send them anything, right? And then you're like,
yeah, totally. Yeah, it's important to get good feedback from people, and I think I actually sent it to Austin too, and he's like super busy, and he took a while to get back to me, and he was like, yeah, they sound great. I'm like, are you just saying that?
Right. Stop lying to me.
Yeah. I see in the chat now, the 3 fire emojis.
Right, there it is. And people do that, just to be clear, I know people do that and mean it too. It's just kind of a meme, like within the community, like the 3 fire emojis for any reply.
Yeah. No, totally.
I've done it before too and really meant it, and then I'm like, uh-oh. I hope people don't misinterpret this, because I always talk about it.
No, I don't think so. I think if like you say something at all, I mean, it's just as meaningful, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I just want to quickly say I appreciate all the nice comments from everybody taking the time to tune in and listen to the tracks. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, the one thing to touch on that, the chat in this show is awesome. I mean, everybody in the chat, especially the people that come every week and everything, it really helps when you're doing a show, when you have the audience engaged and everything like that. I find that one of the most enjoyable parts of the show. Just seeing people's reactions and everything. So yeah,
totally. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's I have to say I've really enjoyed being a part of this project and the synthwave community and the EDM community. It's such a stark contrast from when I was in that alt rock band where I lived in Nashville and everybody kind of folded their arms and nodded their heads when they were at a show.
Right.
Because everybody was a musician.
Right.
And so it's always just such a great thing to see a community of people that just like love this music. And
there's a lot of people that believe in rising up all together too, type of deal. There's been so many people I've met who have that mentality where it's like, even people that are much larger, more successful, you talk to them and they're just like totally chill, and you're like, hey, can I show you this? And they're like, yeah, man, send over whatever you want. That kind of thing where like, in my older band that I was in that wasn't in this, and I have friends in like the metal scene too, which does have some of this kind of camaraderie, but nowhere near this community. I mean, this community is probably the most amazing community I've ever experienced in my life as a musician.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, and Yeah, again, it was just really different from when I was growing up, even.
Yeah, and Nashville's a tough one too. The Sam, who's Dream Pocket in the chat, he's from Nashville as well, and in his previous projects and stuff like that, I'm sure he's experienced something very similar to what you're describing. A lot of nodding and like waiting to play or thinking this is not as good as my stuff, like in the audience.
The sound engineers were really tough. Like,
yeah.
At the live venues, some of them were like, I had like backing tracks, and they were just like, what?
Right.
And I come to Denver, and they've got LED screens, and like, a lighting guy, and I'm like, where's this been?
Right. Yeah, I don't want to go off too long on this, but Denver, I've been told, is very good for synthwave. Is that your experience? Or Colorado, I guess, or maybe it's Denver.
No, totally. I ran just like a little ad on Spotify, and Nick V, who's a DJ.
Okay.
Shout out to him. He helps run Synthwave Night in Denver, and they've been doing this for about 10 or 12 years with another guy named DJ Tower.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that name before.
Yeah, he's definitely big in the synthwave community, especially in Denver.
Yeah.
And they DJ and play songs, and I was like really blown away to see that they were doing kind of like what you're doing online, but just like in the show format.
Yeah. Yeah, that would.
On artists, they brought on me, and I played my debut show at one of their events, and networked with a bunch of synthwave artists there, and played a huge like 700 person venue.
Wow.
And that was like my second show for Kosmonic, and I was like, wow, this is great.
Right. It's different. Like, I don't know what your experience was playing with your other band, but it's hard sometimes to draw a crowd depending on where you're playing. And again, I don't know anything about your old band, but for mine, it was like sometimes you'd hit it really well, and other times it would be people at the bar are annoyed you're playing, because you're too loud or something. But I mean, that's awesome to have that kind of pre-built-in community there to be able to play shows like that.
Oh yeah, totally. They've definitely built that community, and they still do it. Like once a month, they have Synthwave Night.
Man,
so
that's awesome.
Consistent thing.
I wonder if Chicago has this kind of stuff. I've been surprised there aren't that many people I've met, anyways, from Chicago in this scene. There's a few that I know of that I talk with, but it seems like in so many other places in the country, there's so many more people kind of roughly in your area. So either I'm out of touch with the scene, or they're hidden, from me, or I haven't found them yet, anyways.
I mean, just maybe type in Synthwave Night. You never know.
Yeah.
What might pop up. But yeah, no, I need to get on my show live performance game. I've been sort of taking a little bit of a break because I was doing a lot with those two tracks, Waiting and Microdose. But no, I've got like 20 tracks that I've got pretty polished. I just need to finesse them.
Wow, it's quite a bit. 20 tracks.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's they still need some work, but I'm hoping to get those out the next couple months here. I'm just sort of wrapping up some loose ends with some other things I've got going on.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
One of them being recovering from this cold, but
right.
I'm excited to release more, and it does kind of actually expand outward out of the synthwave genre, actually. So
into what, if you don't mind me asking?
Some of it is EDM.
Okay.
But it's still same vocals and everything.
Right. I was going to say, I could see you transition very nicely into that sound, or a hybrid of that sound and synthwave, which some people do. I absolutely could see that working for you.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm not gonna keep doing synthwave, but because I keep making a ton of synthwave tracks. There's just something about it that we all gravitate to,
Right. No, absolutely. I want to move on to the next block, but Craig has been asking about your favorite cereal, as I pre-warned you about. do you have an answer for him?
Yeah, it's kind of a lame one. I really don't eat cereal, but the closest thing that I eat that is cereal is this is gonna sound really funny, but it's from Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Purely Elizabeth.
Yeah, you're throwing Craig a curveball.
So
he didn't eat.
Yeah,
Craig's waiting for Captain Crunch, right? You're bringing him.
But if I lived in the 80s, maybe probably like Reese's. That exists, Reese's Pieces.
Reese's
cereal.
The Reese's Puffs cereal or whatever.
Puffs.
Yeah, that wasn't around in the 80s. I don't think. I think that was more of a late 90s thing, or early 2000s. Yeah. But that stuff is really good.
Yeah, I mean, as like if my kid self was answering, it'd probably be that.
Right.
Reese's,
Craig is thanking me for the question. He's like, he's been waiting over an hour. He's like, now I can move on in peace. That I know. But yeah, let's hop in. The end of the show ends up going real fast, so I start getting real like worried about time and everything. So let's get into the next block of your stuff here. 3 excellent songs, and then we'll hop back in after, and we can talk about some of them.
Cool.
So this first one up we're going to listen to is Afterlife.
On that cold December night, we were lying in the road. You held me tight, but I finally had to let go. So low, but in the afterlife, I saw light, then I went right through. There was an afterglow. Lost and I wasn't found. I was only pure mind. From above the ground, I could see it all in rewind. I was so blind, but in the afterlife, I saw light, then I went right through. There was an afterglow. Then I went right through. There was an afterglow beyond the soul. I saw a universal truth. But in the afterlife, I saw light. Then I went right through. There was an afterglow. At the horizon, at the afterglow, I can feel destiny calling my soul into the cosmic ocean, beyond the speed of light. A window has opened. Do you wanna go tonight? It's journey, a journey where we'll never have to worry no more. Let's go on a journey where we'll never have to worry no more. We could cruise through the ether, past the astral plane. But if we go a bit deeper, we will never be the same. Because this world around us, it's always been a lie. And we're not just stardust, there's more than meets the eye. Just follow me, and I guarantee I'll be a light in the dark. Do you trust me? Make a discovery, take a look into my heart. What do you wanna see? Who do you wanna be? All the places we could go, but we gotta stay low, stay low. Let's go on a journey where we'll never have to worry no more. Let's go on a journey where we'll never have to worry no more. Go on a journey where we'll never have to worry no more. Let's go on a journey where we'll never have to worry no more. Let's go on a journey where we'll never have to worry no more. Let's go on a journey where we'll never have to worry no more. Let's go on a journey where we'll never have to worry no more. Let's go on a journey where we'll never have to supernatural eyes, a pure wanderlust. So beautiful, but yet so dangerous. She's on her way, just right after dusk. A perfect disguise, no one would ever know. I could see her starlight, like a burning afterglow. No one else could sense the otherworldly soul. But I know she's extraterrestrial, ultra-dimensional. She's extraterrestrial, heavenly celestial. She's from the stars, from another galaxy, and I'm being pulled into her gravity. As a high strangeness just overcomes me. Can't you see? She's extraterrestrial, ultra-dimensional. She's extraterrestrial, heavenly celestial. But she's just here for the night. In the sunrise, she'll take flight.
Oh, that was an excellent block of music. I think the chat agrees. I think the response was wild.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, the Craig says I just fell over. That was my favorite review, I think. How's your voice holding up, by the way? I think you've sounded pretty good through this whole thing, feeling like how you do.
Yeah, I mean, today's the first day that I've kind of broke this fever. So I think as the day goes on, I'm just getting better.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
That's good.
Definitely getting better.
One question that Craig asked earlier that I forgot is he always is wondering too what DAW people use.
Yeah, I use Logic Pro.
Yeah, it's always fascinating to hear. I've been using Pro Tools forever, which is becoming more and more rare. And I keep seeing other people using stuff, and you know, I have friends that are into Fruity Loops and Ableton and stuff like that, and they're showing me all these awesome things you can do with it for my music. But I'm like this old man, you know, like holdout. I'm like, yeah, you know, you want to do everything manually. That's the best way, which is probably not true. So we'll see. But yeah, a lot of people use Logic too. The Logic seems like very excellent. I've heard it's got a lot of like built-in stuff that's really useful drum-wise and everything. Is that your experience?
Yeah, the honest answer is because I was a kid on GarageBand.
Yeah.
You know, on the Apple
Yeah.
computer, just playing around with GarageBand and playing with those loops. And then I did learn Pro Tools. I did sort of have a short-term audio engineering gig in LA for like a couple months interning at Blue Microphones, where I did have to learn Pro Tools. So yeah, I do know the difference, and I like how Pro Tools, that you can really see the waveform much better. It's definitely its strengths, but I think it's just more of a Logic for me is more of a songwriter kind of vibe with it, and
yeah,
I don't even really use a lot of the sounds in Logic, but sometimes I do.
Yeah,
and
I always find that interesting. You know, I've got a lot of different plugins and everything, and I talk to some of these people that make amazing music, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this was the part of the stock drum plugins that came with Logic," or something like that. And I'm like, "What?" You know, like that's incredible. Like, yeah, I just need to tweak it, and I'm like looking at all this stuff I have, like, you know, with that, like, you know, chin rubbing emoji face. You know, like, what am I missing here? These people have figured it out.
And I did get a good compliment from a prominent Nashville engineer back in the day, where I had used the Logic drum samples from before the drummer plugin was built into Logic, and he was like, "Oh, you did a really good job mixing that EP. And like the drums sound really good." I was like, "Wow, I'm glad you think so."
Right.
It was like real drums sampled with Logic drums. So
yeah,
you know, you can get away with a lot more than you think.
Oh, sure.
And it's just like, because it's invisible, you know, like people don't see what you're doing. You can get away with a lot more than you think.
Yeah, shoot, now I'm forgetting who we were interviewing. It might have been Chill Collins who said that, like, you know, a lot of people will reach for these drums of the era, you know, like a Linn drum machine or whatnot. But you can absolutely take, you know, these drum programs that emulate real acoustic drums, and through, you know, various methods and everything, kind of like 80s them up a little bit, I guess you could say, you know, by adding in reverb and other stuff to really make a more easier to mix, but yet 80s sounding, more monstrous drum sound like you're looking for. So there's all sorts of different things you can do if you have the chops to mix it up.
Yeah, and I kind of hate to ruin the sonic magic here, but you know, I use a lot of splice drum samples.
Oh, a lot of people do. A lot of people do. That's not that's not ruining anything. That's very common, I think.
Because I know, yeah, like you said, a lot of people, I think, in the EDM or synthwave space, kind of like try to replicate a specific sound, and I'm just going for like, what does this song need?
Right.
And I go through all those snare samples, and I'm just like, that one sounds like the one that fits with what I've got going on.
Right. Sounds correct. And that's all you really need. Right.
Yeah.
You know, that goes back to what I was saying before. You don't necessarily want to be like trying to emulate something. You want to kind of, you know, you want that energy and that feeling and vibe of that era, I guess. But, you know, it also has to sound good. You don't want it to be like, this is a mediocre sounding track, but see how authentic it is. I don't think that's going to land with anyone.
Yeah, you just got to go with what feels right, I think.
Right.
You got to go with your gut.
Right. No, absolutely. Oh, shoot. I had a question, but I just lost it. Sorry about that. Drumwave was saying that he's a Logic user as well. So yeah, see, maybe it was him I was talking about this drum stuff with. I'm not sure. You know, when you talk to a lot of artists and everything, you get sometimes the wires get crossed. You know, so like the next show I'll be coming on and attributing something you said that somebody else said. I'll be like, yeah, Kosmonic loves Pro Tools, you know, or something like that.
Totally understandable.
My old Pro Tools joke I always say is, you know, a Pro Tools user because the Control and the S key are worn off on their keyboard because it crashes so often. And I think anyone that uses Pro Tools understands that you're saving every 2 seconds just in case.
Yeah. You know, like, I think in terms of like what else I've got, I said before we got on the air that like I definitely use I'm using right now is a Neve 1073 for vocals, which will really help production value.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And, I use a Warm Audio. I switched to a Warm Audio. I think it's 8000G. I think that's what it's called. Looks like it's like a replica of the Sony 800.
What
like
is that? Is that
it's a
preamp?
So it's a tube microphone.
Oh, it's a microphone. Okay. Yeah. Dream Pocket was just asking that. What mic do you use?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I didn't even see that. Yeah, that's I channeled it, I guess. It is it's a Warm Audio tube microphone that is a clone of the Sony $10,000 microphone, which a lot of R&B artists use, and it's got a nice like high end, crisp high end, and I run that through the 1073. And the biggest thing I learned when I was basically an intern / head engineer of this studio for a couple months was the outboard gear is extremely important.
Yeah.
And that 1073, we always ran it through the 1073, like no matter what. If it was vocals or guitar.
Right. That was the first. That was a part of every single track you're saying because it sounds so good.
And there is just something more 3D about it. That's how I describe it. It's just kind of got more depth.
Yeah.
And richness to it. And I guess I don't really use the EQ too much. But that preamp, is like the best. Like you just can't go wrong with it. And there might be Warm Audio actually has a clone of that, which is a lot less expensive.
I have the Warm Audio WA73, but it's not mine. A friend of mine who's a vocalist that I'll do recordings for sometimes. It's one of these things where because I have the setup, he wanted to use this, so now it's in my rack, but I don't use it. Like that kind of a thing. It's here to use if needed, but it's not something I frequently use. But I guess that's not the one you're referring to. I'm a little bit. I lack a lot of knowledge on hardware. I mean, there's stuff that I've heard of, obviously, but the real in-depth stuff, people are always mentioning stuff, like some of this stuff like you're mentioning, and I'm like, yes, I've heard of that sort of, in general. Like, I know the concept, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know these specific models.
Yeah, I just say that because, like, I didn't know that,
Yeah.
I mean, I did, but, I spent the time, like, I saved up. I freelanced a lot to be able to get those things.
Sure.
So I could get the production value that I wanted.
Well, it's working. I mean, I'm glad you did.
But that's why, like you gotta sometimes save up and spend the cash if you can, if you really want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's my advice. It's kind of like, it feels like you're not doing music sometimes, but for me, but I'm just in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, I'm saving up to,
right,
like buy the next vinyl.
Right, exactly. Right. I mean, you have to have goals that you're working towards, and that does take away from production and stuff sometimes. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's my reality right now. Is just trying to save up to do this.
Yeah, like you were saying, this whole work thing is really putting it's really bothering the music production, right? If only this whole job thing is really getting in the way.
Exactly. Yeah. It's. I wish I could do it full time. I really wish I could, and I would put out music faster too. But
yeah, there's people in the community that do, that do it full time. And that is the dream for sure.
Yeah, and some people are just like, it's just an excuse.
Right.
But it's like, I need to like live my life,
right,
at the same time, and have breaks, because I've burned out so many times.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can imagine doing production and all the singing and everything. That doesn't surprise me that would happen. I mean, it's like a whole different level. I think when you add vocals in, you're not just working at your studio desk or whatnot.
Yeah, my day job is like video editing, so it's kind of hard.
God, so you're there then to music, and right, yeah, that could get pretty. That could see you burning out pretty big on that.
Yeah, it's a lot of screen time.
Right, a lot of screen time, a lot of sitting.
Yep.
So we're getting up almost. Oh wow, the show's over in 15 minutes. What do you say we go to this next block, and then we can talk a little bit and say our goodbyes?
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. All right, this next one up is the newest by Jesse Mock off his album Summer Danger, and this is the title track, Summer Danger.
and the American way. Rebellion.
Prepare for battle. Killing spree.
And we're back. Just wanted to wake everybody up before the end of the show with that last block. Oh, man. Hey, man. Adam, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a real personal, I was really personally happy about it, you know, since we've been talking recently and everything. And I'm glad I was able to share your music with people and for everybody who listens to the show after the live and everything as well. So I really appreciate you being here.
Likewise, man. I just really appreciate you sharing the music and, like, it was great talking with you and with the chat, and yeah, I really support what you're doing, and yeah, keep up the great work, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Do you have a what's the best way for people to connect with you? Like, do you have a Linktree or a website or something I've missed that I can find real quick? Or Instagram, or what's the best way if anyone wants to get in contact?
Yeah, I think Instagram's probably the best way. It's just Kosmonic, spelled with a K.
Yeah, I'm going to drop the link in here real quick and try not to accidentally shut down the whole show doing this. We're professionals here. Don't worry. Everything's fine.
That's right. We got this under control.
We got this. All right. All right. Just threw it in the chat. So anything you want to promote before we get off?
No, just stay tuned. If you like what you heard today, yeah, just follow me on Instagram or TikTok. And yeah, I hope to share new music soon.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that, as I've said about 45 times now, I think, in this show. So we got 3 songs to play the show out. If you can hang on, just mute yourself till the end. If you got to go, then I can just hit you up later or whatever on a message.
Yeah, I could wait. Yeah.
Cool.
No worries.
All right. I want to thank everybody for coming to the show. As always, you guys make this worth doing for my favorite day of the week. And I really appreciate everybody in the chat. Dom will be back next week. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. We'll see everyone next week. Later.
You just can't take it.